The message came from deep space on a frequency that had been silent for 10,000 years. Admiral Crexville stood before the massive screen in his command center, watching the strange symbols dance across the display. His forearms crossed behind his back as his scientific team worked to decode what appeared to be the first communication from the ancients in millennia. The Zephyrian Dominion had ruled 1,000 worlds for over 800 years. But even they spoke of the ancients with respect. These mysterious beings had vanished long before the Dominion rose to power, leaving behind only ruins and legends. Some said they had transcended physical form. Others believed they had simply moved beyond the galaxy, but their technology had never been matched, and their warnings had never been wrong. "Translation complete, Admiral," announced Chief Scientist Velmara, her scaled hands trembling slightly as she operated the controls. "The message is ... unusual." "Display it," Crexville commanded, his deep voice echoing through the chamber. The symbols faded, replaced by words in perfect Zephyrian script. "To any who receive this transmission, the third planet of the star system you call Sol harbors a species of unmatched lethality. They call themselves human. Do not engage. Do not conquer. Do not even observe. They are evolution's perfect trap. This warning comes from those who learn too late. Heed it or share our fate." Silence filled the command center. The bridge crew, old seasoned warriors who had participated in dozens of planetary conquests, stared at the message with confusion. Crexville read it 3 times before throwing back his head and releasing a sound that made the metal walls vibrate. He was laughing. "Perfect trap?" he roared, his mandibles clicking with amusement. "These humans must be truly desperate to send such messages under the name of the ancients." He turned to his intelligence officer. "What do our scouts report about?" "This Sol system?" Captain Veltara stepped forward, activating a holographic display that showed a small yellow star with several planets orbiting it. "The system is unremarkable, Admiral. The third planet supports carbon-based life. Our long-range sensors indicate a single dominant species has spread across most of the land masses." "And their technology level?" Crexville asked, though his tone suggested he already expected a disappointing answer. "Primitive, sir. They have achieved basic spaceflight, but only to their own moon. Their fastest vessels use chemical propulsion? They have discovered nuclear energy, but use it primarily for weapons that could barely scratch our hull plating. Most amusing of all, they appear to be divided into hundreds of competing factions, constantly warring among themselves." Another officer added, "Their global communication networks are easily monitored, Admiral. They broadcast everything openly. We have observed their entertainment, their news, their military communications. They seem to have no concept of information security." Crexville examined the tactical display showing Earth. The planet looked peaceful. From space, blue and green and white, with thousands of tiny artificial satellites orbiting it like glittering dust. The humans had built many satellites, but none of them were armed. Their space presence was laughably weak. "Show me their military capabilities," he ordered. The display changed to show various human weapons and vehicles. Primitive aircraft that could barely break the sound barrier. Ground vehicles that moved on wheels or tracks. Ships that floated on water instead of flying through space. Their most powerful weapons were nuclear missiles that would take hours to reach their targets. Their largest military force numbers less than 3 million beings, Veltara reported. They have approximately 200 nations, each with separate military commands, no unified defense structure, no planetary shields, no orbital weapons platforms. Admiral, a single battlecruiser could pacify their entire world. Crexville studied the data for several more minutes. The humans had achieved some interesting things for such a young species. They had eliminated several diseases, built impressive cities, and showed remarkable artistic creativity. But militarily, they were centuries behind even the weakest species. The Dominion had conquered. "What about their physical capabilities?" he asked. "Average height approximately 2 meters, bipedal, single head, 2 eyes, 2 manipulator appendages. No natural weapons like claws or toxins, no exoskeleton. No apparent psionic abilities. Their life cycle is extremely short, perhaps 80 rotations at most. They appear to be persistence hunters, evolved to chase prey over long distances rather than overpower it. Persistence hunters, Crexwell mused. In his experience, such species were usually too patient to be dangerous in war. They preferred to avoid conflict rather than seek it. The admiral walked to the great window that looked out over his fleet. Thousands of ships floated in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with the blue-white energy of their force fields. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a continent. His crews were veterans of 100 campaigns, trained from birth for warfare. The Dominion had never lost a conquest, never retreated from a battle, never met a species they could not dominate. Admiral, Vilmara spoke hesitantly, there is one thing about the message that troubles me. Ours and archaeologists have confirmed that the transmission format and encryption are consistent with known ancient technology. The mathematical structures embedded in the code are far beyond current Dominion capabilities. If this is a fake, it was created by someone with access to genuine ancient science? Crexwell waved one hand dismissively. Perhaps one of their colony ships survived somewhere and they observe from hiding. It matters not. If the ancients were so powerful, why did they never return to reclaim their empire? Whatever drove them away, it was not fear of primitive species like these humans. He activated the fleet communication system, and his image appeared on screens throughout the Armada. Warriors of the Dominion, we have discovered a new world ripe for harvest. The species calls itself human, and intelligence indicates they will provide excellent labor stock once properly conditioned. The conquest should require no more than a few days. All battle groups will prepare for standard pacification procedures. Across the fleet, crews began their preparations. Weapons were charged, landing craft were loaded, neural pacification equipment was tested. The Dominion had perfected the art of conquest through centuries of practice. They would bombard key military targets from orbit, deploy pacification fields to subdue the population, then land occupation forces to establish administrative control. Simple, efficient, effective. The Admiral's personal aide approached with a tactical briefing pad. Sir, which battle group should we assign to this operation? Crexwell considered the question. A full campaign typically required 50 to 100 battle groups, depending on the size and technology level of the target. Each battle group contained dozens of ships and thousands of warriors. But the humans seemed so primitive, so divided, so defenseless. The 47th battle group should be sufficient, he decided. 40 ships, 10,000 ground troops. We will treat this as a training exercise for our newer crews. Sir, the aide looked surprised, the 47th is composed mostly of recent graduates from the military academy. Are you certain they can handle a planetary conquest without supervision? What better way to learn? Crexwell laughed. Besides, what could go wrong? The humans cannot even defend their own orbital space. Their weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Their armies are scattered and uncoordinated. This will be good practice for the younglings before we assign them to more challenging targets. He looked again at the ancient message displayed on his screen. The words seemed to mock him with their dire warnings, but he felt only amusement. Perfect trap? Evolution's finest achievement? These humans were clearly just another primitive species making empty threats to try to avoid conquest. The Dominion had faced crystalline beings who could manipulate matter at the molecular level. They had defeated psionic races who could read thoughts across star systems. They had crushed mechanical civilizations that had transcended biological limitations. Entirely, what possible threat could a species of short-lived bipeds pose to the might of the Zephyrian fleet? Set course for the Sol system, he commanded. We will show these humans what real power looks like. And perhaps when we are finished, we will send our own message to whoever is pretending to be the ancients. They can watch from whatever hole they are hiding in as we add Earth to our empire. The great ships began to move, their engines creating ripples in space itself as they accelerated toward the distant yellow star. Admiral Crexwell felt the familiar excitement that came before every conquest. Soon there would be another world. Under Dominion control, another species serving Zephyrian interests, another victory to add to their long list of triumphs. He had no way of knowing that in sending his least experienced battle group against humanity, he had just made the first of many decisions that would change the course of galactic history. The trap was already set, waiting patiently for the Dominion to spring it on themselves. Behind them, deep in space, ancient sensors registered the movement of the Zephyrian fleet toward Earth. Automated systems that had been dormant for millennia activated briefly, recording the time and date of what they calculated would be the Dominion's last mistake. Then they went silent again, leaving no trace of their presence except for the message that Admiral Crexville had dismissed as primitive deception. The journey to Earth would take 6 months at maximum speed. 6 months for the Admiral to savor his anticipated victory. 6 months for the humans to live in ignorance of what was coming. 6 months before the Zephyrian Dominion would learn that some traps are baited with apparent weakness, and that evolution's greatest predators often look exactly like helpless prey. The fleet disappeared into hyperspace, carrying 10,000 confident warriors toward a species that had been waiting 3 billion years to show the galaxy what patience could accomplish. 6 months later, the Zephyrian fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Admiral Crexville stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display show 40 warships taking perfect formation around the third planet. Earth hung before them like a blue marble, completely unaware of what was about to happen. "Sir, we are detecting increased communication traffic from the planet's surface," reported Communications Officer Telvac. "They appear to have noticed our arrival. What are they saying?" Crexville asked, though he already knew it would be the usual mix of panic and pathetic attempts at negotiation. "Multiple languages, sir, but our translators are working. Most of the messages are emergency broadcasts to their military forces. Some are attempting to contact us directly with offers to negotiate. A few are ... quite colorful in their language." The Admiral allowed himself a small smile. Every species reacted the same way when they first saw Dominion ships. Fear, anger, desperate hope that somehow the situation could be resolved peacefully. It never could. "Any sign of orbital defenses?" "Negative, sir. They have many small satellites, but none are armed. No weapons platforms, no shield generators, no defense stations. Their largest orbital facility appears to be some kind of research station with perhaps 50 occupants." Crexville nodded. It was exactly what their scouts had reported. The humans had managed to put objects in orbit around their planet, but they had never considered that someone might attack them from space. Their thinking was still limited to surface warfare between their own kind. What about their military response? "Scattered and uncoordinated, sir. We are tracking aircraft from multiple nations heading toward various positions, but they appear to be operating independently. No unified command structure. Some of their forces are actually moving away from others as if they do not trust each other even now." This was typical. Most species were fragmented when the Dominion first arrived. Fear made them think only of protecting their own territories instead of working together. It made conquest much easier. "Begin Phase 1, the Admiral ordered. Across the fleet, weapon systems came online. The Zephyrians had perfected the art of planetary pacification through centuries of practice. First, they would demonstrate their power by eliminating key military targets. Then they would deploy neural pacification fields to calm the population. Finally, they would land occupation forces to establish control. The first wave of plasma bolts streaked down from orbit, targeting military bases, government centers, and communication hubs on 6 continents simultaneously. The beams moved at light speed, giving the humans no time to react or defend themselves. Explosions bloomed across the planet's surface as bases that had stood for decades were reduced to glowing craters in seconds. "Direct hits on all primary targets," reported Weapons Officer Kethmore. "No survivors detected at impact sites. Secondary targets are now available for bombardment." Crexville watched the tactical display update as red markers appeared wherever Zephyrian weapons had struck. Each marker represented thousands of humans who had been eliminated in the opening moments of the conquest. It was always unfortunate, but necessary. Quick, decisive action saved lives in the long run by preventing prolonged resistance. "Sir, the humans are attempting to launch some kind of counterattack," Telvac announced. "We are detecting missile launches from multiple locations." "Nuclear warheads?" "Yes, sir." "Approximately 200 missiles inbound. Estimated time to impact, 18 minutes. Crexville checked his personal time display. 18 minutes for their most powerful weapons to reach orbit. His own plasma bolts had struck the planet in less than 2 seconds. The difference in technology was almost comical. Defensive grid status? "All shield generators operating at minimum power, sir." "The human weapons cannot penetrate our defenses even at full strength." The Admiral watched patiently as the primitive missiles climbed slowly toward his fleet. Human nuclear weapons were crude devices that released energy through uncontrolled atomic reactions. Zephyrian power systems had been using controlled fusion for 800 years. It was like watching children throw stones at a fortress. When the missiles finally reached the fleet, they detonated in brilliant flashes against the ship shields. The explosions lit up space for several seconds, but when the light faded, the Zephyrian vessels floated undamaged. Their shields had absorbed the entire nuclear assault without even fluctuating. "Damage report," Crexville said, though he already knew the answer. "No damage to any vessel, sir." "Shield strength remains at maximum. The human weapons were completely ineffective." On the planet below, the failure of their nuclear strike seemed to break whatever unity the humans had managed to achieve. Radio. Traffic showed confusion, argument, and despair. Some military units were retreating to defensive positions. Others were attempting to evacuate civilians. A few were still trying to coordinate additional attacks, but their weapons had proven useless. "Begin Phase 2, the Admiral ordered. The neural pacification fields activated simultaneously across the planet. These invisible energy waves worked directly on biological nervous systems, creating feelings of calm and submission. The technology had been developed specifically for conquering inhabited worlds without damaging valuable infrastructure or killing unnecessarily large numbers of potential workers." "Pacification fields at full strength," reported Medical Officer Zentel. "We are detecting immediate effects across all populated areas. Human stress indicators are dropping rapidly. Aggressive behavior is decreasing. Military resistance is becoming sporadic." Crexville nodded with satisfaction. The pacification fields were one of the Dominion's greatest achievements. Instead of reducing planets to rubble and killing millions of beings, they could simply make the population peaceful and cooperative. It was much more efficient than the brutal conquest methods used by less advanced species. "Any areas showing resistance to the fields? Minimal, sir. A few remote locations where human population density is low. Some underground facilities appear to be partially shielded, but the vast majority of the species is now under pacification influence." "Excellent." Begin Phase 3. Landing craft launched from the fleet, carrying occupation forces down to the planet's surface. Each craft held 50 Zephyrian soldiers equipped with the most advanced weapons and armor in the galaxy. They would establish control points in major population centers, set up administrative systems, and begin the process of organizing human society under Dominion rule. The landings went exactly as planned. Human military forces, dulled by the pacification fields, offered little resistance. Most simply stood and watched as Zephyrian troops took control of their bases, their government buildings, their communication centers. A few humans tried to fight, but their primitive weapons could not penetrate Zephyrian armor, and they were quickly subdued with non-lethal neural disruptors. "All primary objectives secured," reported Ground Commander Vexstar from the surface. "Human military resistance has ceased. Population centers are under our control. We are beginning establishment of administrative zones." Crexville studied the reports flowing in from the planet. The conquest had taken exactly 73 hours from arrival to complete pacification. It was actually faster than their estimate. The humans had proven even less capable of defending themselves than intelligence had predicted. Casualties? He asked, though he hoped the number would be low. 0 Zephyrian losses, sir. Human casualties are estimated at approximately 50,000, mostly military personnel eliminated in the initial bombardment. Civilian losses are minimal thanks to the effectiveness of the pacification fields. Excellent work. Begin phase. 4. Phase 4 was the organization phase. Humans would be classified by age, health, skills, and genetic markers. The most useful would be assigned to various work details. The elderly and infirm would be given comfortable quarters and basic care. Children would be educated in Dominion language and customs, so they could serve as administrators when they reached adulthood. It was a system the Dominion had perfected over centuries. They had learned that conquered species served better when they were treated well and given meaningful work. Slaves were expensive to maintain and often rebellious. Workers who felt valued were productive and loyal. Sir, Vexstar's voice came from the surface again. We are detecting some unusual behavior patterns among the human population. Explain. The pacification fields are working normally, but some humans appear to be studying our equipment. Not trying to steal it or damage it, just observing very carefully. They watch our soldiers, our vehicles, our procedures. It is as if they are trying to learn how everything works. Crexwell frowned. Most species under pacification became passive and uninterested in complex topics. The neural fields were designed to reduce curiosity and analytical thinking while leaving basic intelligence intact. Are they interfering with operations? No. Sir, not at all. They follow all instructions, report to processing centers as ordered, and show no signs of aggression. But their attention to detail is ... remarkable. They seem to remember everything they see. But probably just their natural curiosity. Many species show interest in superior technology when they first encounter it. As long as they remain cooperative, it is not a concern. But even as he spoke, Crexwell felt a small trace of unease. The ancient warning echoed in his memory. They are evolution's perfect trap. He dismissed the thought immediately. The conquest was complete, the humans were pacified, and Dominion control was absolute. What possible threat could a defeated species pose? Continue with standard procedures, he ordered. Establish processing centers, begin skills assessment, and prepare initial labor assignments. I want full administrative control within 1 month. Understood, sir. Over the following days, reports continued to arrive from the surface. The humans were indeed remarkably cooperative. They lined up at processing centers without complaint, answered questions about their skills and backgrounds honestly, and followed work assignments without resistance. But they also continued their intense observation of everything around them. Zephyrian scientists found human learning ability to be extraordinary. They absorbed new information at incredible rates, asked intelligent questions about Dominion, technology, and seemed to understand complex concepts after only brief explanations. Several human engineers had already proven valuable in helping to adapt Zephyrian equipment for use in Earth's environment. They are quite fascinating, reported Chief Xenobiologist Redival during one of the daily briefings. Their brain structure is remarkably adaptable. They appear to form new neural pathways faster than any species we have encountered. Their memory retention is exceptional, and their problem-solving abilities are surprisingly sophisticated. Are they more intelligent than initial estimates suggested? Crexwell asked. Not more intelligent, sir, but more ... flexible. Most species we conquer have specialized intelligence. The Veltar were excellent at mathematics, but poor at creative thinking. The Nethrim had powerful psychic abilities, but limited technological innovation. Humans seem to be generalists. They are reasonably good at everything rather than excellent at specific things, and this makes them valuable workers? Extremely valuable, sir. They can be trained for any task we require. Their short lifespans are unfortunate, but their rapid learning more than compensates. I believe humans will become one of our most useful client species. Crexwell was pleased. A successful conquest that resulted in valuable workers was the best possible outcome. The humans would serve the Dominion well, their planet would become a productive member of the Empire, and his own reputation would be enhanced by another flawless victory. But late at night, alone in his quarters, he sometimes found himself reading the ancient message again. The words seemed different now, more ominous somehow. They are evolution's perfect trap. What could that possibly mean? The humans had been defeated easily, pacified completely, and were now serving as cooperative workers. Where was the trap? He told himself it was just the natural caution that came after any major operation. Every conqueror felt some uncertainty. Until an occupation was fully established, the humans were no different from any other species the Dominion had absorbed. In a few years, they would be indistinguishable from other client populations, productive and loyal, and grateful for the benefits of Dominion citizenship. The trap, if it had ever existed, had already been sprung, and the Zephyrians had emerged victorious. 6 months after the conquest, Admiral Crexwell was reviewing routine occupation reports when an urgent message arrived from Ground Commander Vexstar. The transmission came from the North American Administrative Zone, and the commander's voice carried an unusual tension. "Admiral, we have a situation that requires your attention. A supply convoy traveling through the mountain region has gone missing." Crexwell looked up from his datapad with mild interest. Supply convoys occasionally had mechanical problems or took wrong routes. It was not uncommon, especially on a newly conquered world where the road systems were primitive and the terrain was challenging. "What was the last known position?" he asked. "The convoy was traveling through an area the humans call the Rocky Mountains, sir. They were carrying standard equipment and supplies to Outpost 7. The convoy consisted of 3 transport vehicles and a security escort. They maintained regular communication until approximately 14 hours ago. Mechanical failure? Unlikely, sir. All vehicles were recently serviced and the route was well mapped. More importantly, we have found no wreckage at their last known position." This was more interesting. Zephyrian vehicles were extremely reliable, and even if one failed, the others should have continued or called for assistance. For an entire convoy to simply disappear suggested something more serious than equipment problems. "Send a search team to investigate. Priority level 2. "Already done, sir. The search team found something you need to see." A holographic display activated, showing video footage from the search team's reconnaissance. The image revealed a section of mountain road where the convoy should have passed. The road surface showed clear tire tracks from Zephyrian vehicles, but the tracks simply ended at a particular point, as if the vehicles had vanished into thin air. "Continue the recording," Vexstar instructed. The camera moved to show trees beside the road. Carved into the bark of several large trees were strange markings. They were not random scratches, but deliberate symbols that formed complex patterns. The marks looked fresh, made within the last day or two. "Sir," the search team leader's voice came through the recording, "these symbols do not match any known human writing system in our database. The patterns appear to be mathematical in nature, but they use concepts we do not recognize." Crexwell studied the markings carefully. They were definitely artificial, clearly made by intelligent beings, but they used geometric relationships that seemed unusual. The mathematics looked advanced, but it followed rules that Zephyrian science did not use. "Any other evidence?" "Negative, sir. No bodies, no wreckage, no signs of violence. The vehicles and their crews have simply disappeared. However, we have detected trace amounts of Zephyrian alloy particles in the soil near the markings. Analysis suggests the particles came from vehicle hull plating. So the convoy was definitely there." "Yes, sir, but whatever happened to them left?" "Almost no physical evidence. Just these markings and microscopic metal traces." Crexwell closed the transmission and considered the situation. One missing convoy could be explained many ways. Equipment failure, human resistance activity, even natural disasters. But the mathematical symbols suggested something more organized than random violence or simple mechanical problems. "Intelligence Officer Veltara to my quarters," he commanded. Veltara arrived within minutes, carrying a data tablet filled with recent reports from across the planet. Her expression was troubled, which was unusual for someone known for her calm, analytical approach to problems. "Admiral, the missing convoy is not an isolated incident," she began without waiting for questions. "Over the past month, we have recorded 17 separate cases of minor equipment failures, supply shortages, and communication disruptions. Individually, each incident appears routine. Together, they form a pattern." "What kind of pattern?" "Precision, sir. The failures always affect specific components while leaving everything else undamaged. Communication arrays lose their primary transmitters, but backup systems remain functional. Transport vehicles lose navigation equipment, but engines and life support continue working. Supply depots are missing particular items while everything else remains untouched." Veltara activated her tablet, showing a map of Earth with red markers indicating each incident. The markers were scattered across all continents, but when connected, they formed a complex network that covered most of the planet. Furthermore, "Sir, we have detected increased human activity in remote areas, not aggressive activity but movement. Large groups of humans are relocating to wilderness regions, underground facilities, and abandoned urban areas. Our pacification fields are still working normally in populated centers, but humans outside the field range appear to be organizing themselves." "Organizing for what purpose?" "Unknown, sir. They are not attacking our facilities or threatening our personnel, but they are definitely coordinating their activities across vast distances. We have intercepted crude communication signals between groups separated by thousands of kilometers." Crexville moved to the large window that looked down at Earth's surface. From orbit, the planet looked peaceful and controlled. Cities functioned normally under Zephyrian administration. Humans reported to work assignments and followed all instructions. The occupation appeared to be proceeding exactly as planned. "What do you think is happening, Captain?" "I believe the humans are studying." "Yes, sir. Every missing piece of equipment, every failed component, every disrupted system has been carefully examined before being damaged or stolen. The precision of these operations suggests detailed knowledge of our technology. That is impossible. Our equipment uses quantum encryption and biometric locks. Human technology is centuries behind our capabilities. They cannot simply reverse engineer our systems." "Sir, I have reviewed the human historical records we captured during the initial conquest. This species has a remarkable pattern of technological adaptation. They have repeatedly taken ideas from other human cultures and improved upon them within remarkably short time frames. Their entire technological development shows constant borrowing, learning, and innovation." Veltara pulled up additional files showing human history. Wars where one side gained advantage through stolen enemy technology. Scientific advances where humans built upon the work of previous generations. Industrial development where innovations spread rapidly across their entire species. They call it reverse engineering, sir. Taking apart existing technology to understand how it works, then building their own versions. Sometimes their versions are actually better than the originals. Better? How could a primitive species improve upon Dominion technology? By thinking differently, sir. We design our equipment for Zephyrian use under Zephyrian conditions. Humans might modify it for human use under Earth conditions. Different does not always mean inferior. Before Crexville could respond, an urgent communication arrived from another ground commander. This one was calling from the African Administrative Zone, and his report was even more disturbing. "Admiral, we have lost contact with Research Station 12 in the Sahara region. The facility was conducting routine geological surveys when communications ceased 8 hours ago. Send a recovery team immediately." "Already en route, sir, but there is something else. We detected unusual energy readings from the station shortly before we lost contact. The readings suggest someone was operating our equipment, but using power settings and frequencies outside normal parameters. Impossible. Our biometric locks prevent unauthorized access." "Sir, the locks were not bypassed." "According to our records?" The equipment was operated by authorized personnel using proper access codes. But the operational patterns are completely unlike standard Zephyrian procedures. Krexville felt the first real stirring of concern. Individual equipment failures could be accidents. A missing convoy might be explained by natural disasters or mechanical problems, but unauthorized operation of secured equipment suggested something far more serious. What type of research was Station 12 conducting? Geological analysis? Sir, they were studying human mineral extraction techniques to identify potential mining locations. The station contained advanced scanning equipment, material analyzers, and communication systems. Get me a full report from the recovery team as soon as they reach the station. The report arrived 3 hours later, and it was worse than Krexville had expected. The research station was intact and undamaged. All equipment remained in place and functional. But the Zephyrian research team was missing, and the station's computers contained terabytes of data that had not been there before. Sir, the recovery team leader reported, the missing personnel appear to have left voluntarily. There are no signs of violence or forced entry. Personal belongings remain in their quarters, but the researchers are simply gone. And the additional data? Detailed scans of Zephyrian equipment, sir. Complete technical specifications, operational manuals, and maintenance procedures. The data is formatted in human mathematical notation, but it demonstrates a thorough understanding of our technology. How is that possible? Sir, based on the computer logs, it appears our research team was teaching. The humans did not steal the information. They asked questions and our personnel answered them. Krexville stared at the report in disbelief. Zephyrian soldiers and scientists were trained to maintain security protocols even under torture. The idea that they would voluntarily share classified technical information with a conquered species was unthinkable. Were they under some form of mind control? Negative, sir. Medical scans show no evidence of psychic influence, drugs, or neural manipulation. According to the computer records, the humans simply asked very intelligent questions about topics they were genuinely curious about. Our personnel responded as they would to any scientific inquiry. Where are the missing researchers now? Unknown. Sir, but we have discovered something else. The humans who were present at the station have also disappeared, but they left behind working prototypes of modified Zephyrian equipment. The recovery team transmitted images of devices that looked like Zephyrian scanners and communicators, but with obvious modifications. Extra components had been added, existing circuits had been rearranged, and the overall design had been altered in ways that seemed almost random. Do the modifications serve any purpose? We are analyzing them now, sir. Preliminary tests suggest the devices are actually more efficient than our original designs. The modifications appear to optimize performance for Earth-specific environmental conditions. Krexville closed the transmission and sat in silence for several minutes. The pattern was becoming clear, and it was deeply troubling. The humans were not simply stealing Zephyrian technology. They were learning it, understanding it, and improving it. Admiral, Veltara spoke carefully, I believe we need to reconsider our assessment of this species. The evidence suggests they are far more dangerous than we initially believed. How can they be dangerous? They are under pacification fields. They cannot organize large-scale resistance. They have no weapons capable of threatening our forces. Sir, they do not need to threaten our forces directly. They are learning everything about us. Our technology, our procedures, our weaknesses. Every day they become more knowledgeable about our capabilities while we learn nothing new about theirs. What are you suggesting? Sir, what if the conquest was not the end of this conflict? What if it was just the beginning? What if everything we have observed was exactly what the humans wanted us to see? Krexville looked again at the ancient warning displayed on his screen. They are evolution's perfect trap. For the first time since arriving at Earth, he began to wonder if the message had been genuine after all. Continue monitoring the situation, he ordered. But take no action against the humans yet. We need more information before we can determine the appropriate response. But even as he spoke, Krexville knew that the humans were probably monitoring him just as carefully as he was monitoring them, and he was beginning to suspect that they were much better at it. 2 years after the conquest, Admiral Krexville stood before a tactical display that showed something impossible. Human forces were attacking Zephyrian installations across 6 continents simultaneously, using weapons and vehicles that appeared to be improved versions of Dominion technology. "How many facilities are under attack?" he asked, his voice tight with controlled anger. 17 primary installations and 43 secondary outposts, reported Captain Veltara. The attacks began exactly 47 minutes ago across all time zones. Perfect coordination suggests a unified command structure. What happened to our pacification fields? Still operating normally in populated areas, sir? But the attacking forces appear to be humans who have been living outside the field coverage for extended periods. Our neural conditioning has no effect on them. Krexville watched the tactical display update in real time. Red warning indicators appeared and disappeared as battles raged across the planet. But these were not the desperate guerrilla attacks he had expected from a conquered species. The human forces moved with military precision, used sophisticated tactics, and employed technology that should not have existed. "Show me the weapons analysis," he ordered. A new display appeared, showing captured images of human soldiers carrying rifles that fired concentrated energy beams. The weapons looked similar to Zephyrian plasma guns, but with obvious modifications. They were smaller, lighter, and appeared to have longer range than the original designs. "Sir," Weapons Officer Kethmore reported, "preliminary analysis suggests these human weapons are approximately 30% more efficient than our standard infantry arms. They use less power, generate less heat, and have improved targeting systems. How is that possible? They appear to have redesigned our plasma containment systems using different mathematical principles. Instead of brute force containment, they use what our scientists describe as elegant resonance patterns. The result is the same energy output with significantly reduced resource requirements." Another display showed human vehicles that looked like modified Zephyrian transport craft. But these versions moved faster, turned more sharply, and seemed to require less maintenance than the originals. "The humans have been busy," Veltara observed grimly. 2 years ago they could barely reach their own moon. Now they are building spacecraft that outperform ours. "Sir," Communications Officer Telvac interrupted, "we are receiving a transmission on Zephyrian military frequencies. The signal is coming from the North American continent. Display it." The main screen showed a human female wearing what appeared to be a military uniform. She looked directly into the camera with calm, confident eyes. When she spoke, her words were translated automatically into Zephyrian. "My name is Major Sarah Chun, former pilot in the United States Air Force, current commander of the North American Liberation Front. This message is addressed to Admiral Krexville and the occupation forces of the Zephyrian Dominion." Krexville leaned forward, fascinated despite himself. This human showed no fear, no anger, no desperation. She spoke as if she were addressing an equal rather than a superior alien force. 2 years ago, you came to our world believing you were conquering a primitive species. You were wrong. You were not conquering us, you were teaching us. Every piece of equipment you brought, every procedure you followed, every weakness you revealed has been carefully studied and catalogued. The image switched to show human technicians working on Zephyrian equipment in what appeared to be an underground facility. The humans moved with practiced efficiency, modifying alien technology with obvious expertise. "We want to thank you for the education. Your plasma weapons taught us about energy containment. Your vehicles showed us new propulsion principles. Your communication systems revealed quantum encryption methods we had never imagined. Your neural pacification fields gave us complete maps of your brain chemistry and psychological profiles." Krexville felt his blood turn cold. The pacification fields were supposed to make humans passive and compliant. Instead, they had been providing detailed biological information about Zephyrian nervous systems. "But perhaps most importantly, you taught us about yourselves. We learned how you think, how you fight, how you organize your society. We studied your strengths and your weaknesses. We learned your fears and your blind spots. Class is now in session, and today you become the students." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in shocked silence. For a moment, no one spoke. Then alarms began sounding as reports flooded in from across the planet. "Sir, human forces have captured Installation 7 in Antarctica," Telvac reported. "They used modified atmospheric suits to survive in conditions that should have been impossible for their species." "Installation 12 in the Sahara has gone silent," added another officer. "Last transmission indicated human forces were using some kind of advanced camouflage technology." "The orbital communication relay above South America has been destroyed," reported yet another crew member. "The attackers used missiles with guidance systems more advanced than our own." Crexville studied the tactical display with growing disbelief. Human forces were not just attacking randomly. They were systematically targeting the most important and heavily defended Zephyrian facilities. More disturbing, they seemed to know exactly where every installation was located, including secret bases that did not appear on standard occupation maps. "How do they know our facility locations?" "Sir," Veltara said quietly, "every human who was processed through our administrative centers spent time in proximity to our computer systems. Every human worker assigned to our installations observed our security procedures. Every human who asked innocent questions about our operations was actually gathering intelligence." "You mean they have been spying on us since the day we arrived?" "Not spying, sir, learning. There is a difference. Spies try to steal secrets without being detected. The humans asked questions openly, observed everything publicly, and made no attempt to hide their curiosity. We assumed they were simply fascinated by superior technology. Instead, they were conducting the most comprehensive intelligence operation in galactic history." A new alarm sounded, this one indicating a direct threat to the command ship itself. Crexville looked up to see proximity warnings flashing across multiple screens. "Sir, we have incoming missiles from the planet's surface," Weapons Officer Kethmore announced. "Multiple launch points, sophisticated guidance systems, estimated time to impact 6 minutes. Activate defensive systems. Systems already active, sir. But these missiles appear to be using adaptive guidance algorithms. They are adjusting their approach patterns to compensate for our defensive fire." Crexville watched the tactical display. Showed dozens of human missiles climbing toward the fleet. But these were not the crude chemical rockets the humans had used during the initial conquest. These weapons moved faster, maneuvered more skillfully, and seemed to anticipate Zephyrian defensive tactics. "How many missiles?" 247 confirmed launches, sir. "More may be inbound from locations we have not yet detected." "That is more missiles than they launched during their entire nuclear response to our initial attack." "Yes, sir, and these appear to be far more advanced than their previous weapons." The first wave of missiles reached the fleet's defensive perimeter. Zephyrian point defense systems engaged automatically, filling space with energy beams designed to destroy incoming threats. Most of the human missiles were destroyed, but several broke through using evasive patterns that seemed almost intelligent. When the surviving missiles struck the fleet's shields, they did not explode like conventional weapons. Instead, they released some kind of energy pulse that caused the shield generators to fluctuate and weaken. "Shield status report, Crexville." "Ordered. Shields holding, sir, but at reduced effectiveness. The human weapons appear to be designed specifically to disrupt our defensive systems." "They are using our own shield frequency against us?" "Impossible. Our shield technology is classified at the highest levels." "Sir, remember that our shields have been operating continuously over this planet for 2 years. Any species with sufficient knowledge of quantum physics could have analyzed their energy patterns and developed countermeasures." Another wave of missiles approached, and this time several managed to penetrate the weakened shields entirely. They struck the hulls of 3 Zephyrian vessels, causing significant damage but no casualties. When damage control teams investigated, they found that the weapons had been carefully designed to disable rather than destroy. "Sir," reported the damage control officer, The human weapons specifically targeted our communication arrays, sensor systems, and weapon mounts. They avoided areas that would have caused crew casualties. It appears they want to capture our ships intact rather than destroy them. Krexval realized with growing horror that the humans were not trying to drive the Zephyrian fleet away from Earth, they were trying to steal it. "Emergency jump to hyperspace," he ordered. "All ships prepare for immediate departure." "Sir, hyperspace generators are not responding. The human weapons appear to have damaged our navigation systems specifically." "Then use sublight engines. Get us away from this planet." "Sublight engines are also compromised, sir. We are effectively trapped in orbit." For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Krexval felt genuine fear. His fleet was stranded above a planet full of humans who had just demonstrated technological capabilities that should not have existed. Worse, those humans seemed to understand Zephyrian technology better than the Zephyrians themselves. "Sir," Veltara said softly, "I am receiving another transmission from the planet's surface. Display it." Major Chen appeared on the screen again, but this time she was standing in what looked like a captured Zephyrian facility. Human technicians worked in the background, apparently reverse engineering alien equipment under her direction. "Admiral Krexval, I hope you are beginning to understand your situation. Your fleet is disabled but not destroyed. Your ground forces are contained but not eliminated. Your personnel are captured but not harmed. This is intentional." She gestured to the humans working behind her. "We do not want to destroy you. We want to learn from you. Just as you taught us about technology, we would like you to teach us about the galaxy beyond Earth. We are particularly interested in meeting the other species you have conquered over the centuries." The image switched to show a large underground facility where hundreds of humans were working on projects that looked impossibly advanced. Some were building spacecraft that combined human and Zephyrian design elements. Others were working on weapons that appeared to use principles from multiple technological traditions. "You see, Admiral, we have been preparing for this moment since the day you arrived. Every human who seemed to cooperate with your occupation was actually part of an intelligence network that spanned the globe. Every piece of information you shared was analyzed and incorporated into our plans. Every weakness you revealed was exploited." Shin looked directly into the camera with eyes that showed no malice, only determination. "We are not angry with you for conquering our world. We are grateful. You gave us the knowledge we needed to reach the stars. Now we would like you to introduce us to our new neighbors." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Outside the viewports, Earth continued its slow rotation, looking peaceful and innocent. But Krexval now knew that the planet below contained the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever produced. They had not been conquering humanity. Humanity had been recruiting them. 18 months after Admiral Krexval's fleet was captured, the first human ships appeared in the Kepler 442 system. The Zephyrian colony there had been built around enslaved Veltar workers, crystalline beings who could manipulate matter at the molecular level. For 3 centuries they had served the Dominion without hope of freedom. Commander Thekval, administrator of the colony, watched his sensors with disbelief as the approaching ships transmitted a message in perfect Zephyrian. The vessels looked familiar yet wrong, like Dominion designs that had been rebuilt by someone who understood them better than their original creators. "This is Admiral Sarachan of the Terran Liberation Fleet," the transmission began. "We are here to speak with the Veltar people about their future." Thekval had heard rumors from deep space merchants about something happening in the Sol system. Stories of the 47th Battle Group disappearing, reports of strange new ships bearing both human and Zephyrian design elements, whispers that Admiral Krexval himself had been captured. But the Dominion High Command had dismissed these as panic and exaggeration. "Unknown vessels, you are entering restricted Dominion space," Thekval responded. "Identify yourselves properly and state your intentions." "Commander Thekval," came the reply, and the human knew his name without being told. "We are former students of Admiral Krexval. He taught us many useful things about Dominion operations, including the locations of all your colonies and the conditions under which various species are held. The human fleet moved into orbital position with casual confidence, their shields active but weapons powered down. They showed no sign of aggression, but their mere presence was a threat that could not be ignored. "We are here to make an offer to the Veltar people," Admiral Chun continued. "Freedom, if they want it. Partnership, if they choose it. And the tools to build something better than what currently exists." "The Veltar are under Dominion protection," Deathworlder replied, though his voice lacked conviction. "They are content in their current role. Commander, we have been monitoring your communications for the past 6 months. We know about the production quotas, the punishment protocols, and the biological inhibitors you use to control Veltar reproduction. We also know that their molecular manipulation abilities have been used exclusively for Dominion benefit while their own people live in basic shelters with minimal resources." Deathworlder checked his defensive systems, but the readings made no sense. His sensors showed that the human ships had shield strength comparable to Dominion battlecruisers, but they were using power generation methods that his equipment could not identify. Worse, his own defensive systems were reporting random malfunctions that seemed to occur whenever he tried to target the human vessels. "You cannot threaten Dominion territory," he warned. "Reinforcements will arrive soon." "Commander, the nearest Dominion fleet is 16 days away at maximum speed. We know this because Admiral Crexville provided us with complete strategic information about your deployment patterns. He was very cooperative once he understood his situation." Before Deathworlder could respond, new contacts appeared on his sensors. But these were not more human ships. They were escape pods and small craft launching from the Veltar residential areas on the planet below. "What is happening on the surface?" he demanded of his ground forces. "Sir, the Veltar appear to be leaving. They are abandoning their work. Assignments and moving toward designated pickup points. They seem to know exactly where to go. Stop them." "Sir, we are trying, but our control systems are malfunctioning. The biological inhibitors have stopped working, and our security forces are reporting equipment failures across all sectors." "Admiral," Chun's voice returned. "Commander, we sent advance teams to your world 3 months ago. They have been working with Veltar leaders to plan this transition. The inhibitor systems you rely on have been systematically disabled using methods your Admiral Crexville helped us perfect." Deathworlder watched helplessly as transport ships descended from the human fleet to collect Veltar civilians. But these were not crude rescue operations. The humans had obviously planned this extraction down to the smallest detail, with designated pickup zones, organized evacuation procedures, and backup plans for every contingency. "The Veltar workers are essential to colony operations," he protested. "Without them, this entire system will become economically unviable." "Yes," Chun agreed calmly. "That is the point. The Dominion built this colony using slave labor to extract resources for your empire. Without slaves, the colony serves no purpose. We suggest you relocate your personnel to more sustainable occupations. This is an act of war." "No, Commander. This is an act of education. We are teaching the galaxy the same lesson we learned on Earth. Oppression is temporary. Knowledge is permanent. Freedom is inevitable." The last of the Veltar transports docked with the human fleet, carrying nearly 1,000,000 crystalline beings toward liberty. But instead of jumping immediately to hyperspace, the human ships remained in orbit. "Why are you still here?" Deathworlder asked. "Because we have an offer for your people as well," Admiral Chun replied. "Any Zephyrian personnel who wish to join the Terran Alliance are welcome. We can provide transportation to colony worlds where former Dominion citizens are building new lives based on cooperation rather than conquest." "You expect Zephyrians to abandon their own empire?" "Commander, what we expect is that intelligent beings will recognize when their system has failed. The Dominion rules through force and fear, but force requires constant energy and fear eventually transforms into anger. We offer something different. Partnership based on mutual benefit and shared knowledge. To Deathworlder's shock, several of his own officers stepped forward to request transport to the human ships. These were Zephyrians who had grown tired of enforcing oppression, who had seen the benefits that former Dominion worlds enjoyed under human guidance, who wanted to be part of building rather than conquering as the human fleet prepared to depart. Admiral Chun transmitted one final message. Commander, you can report to Dominion High Command that the Terran Alliance now includes 47 liberated species and over 600 worlds. We are not conquering territory. We are liberating people. The difference is important. The human ships vanished into hyperspace, taking with them the entire Veltar population and a significant portion of Deathworlder's own staff. The colony that had operated for 3 centuries was abandoned in a single day, its infrastructure intact but its purpose eliminated. Similar scenes played out across dozens of systems over the following months. Human fleets appeared at Dominion colonies, offering freedom to enslaved species and partnership to any Zephyrians who chose a different path. They never fired the first shot, never demanded unconditional surrender, never sought revenge for past wrongs. Instead, they simply made oppression impossible to maintain. The human ships vanished into hyperspace, taking with them the entire Veltar population and a significant portion of Deathworlder's own staff. The colony that had operated for 3 centuries was abandoned in a single day, its infrastructure intact, but its purpose eliminated. Similar scenes played out across dozens of systems over the following months. Human fleets appeared at Dominion colonies, offering freedom to enslaved species and partnership to any Zephyrians who chose a different path. They never fired the first shot, never demanded unconditional surrender, never sought revenge for past wrongs. Instead, they simply made oppression impossible to maintain. Admiral Crexville, now housed in comfortable quarters aboard the human flagship, watched these operations with a mixture of admiration and despair. The humans had studied Dominion tactics so thoroughly that they could predict every response, counter every strategy, and exploit every weakness. "You could have destroyed us," he said to Admiral Chun during one of their regular conversations. "Your weapons are superior, your ships are faster, your tactics are more sophisticated. Why show mercy?" Chun looked out at the stars through the observation deck windows. Around them, the ship hummed with activity as human, Zephyrian, Veltar, and dozens of other species worked together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. "Admiral, we did not study your people to learn how to fight you. We studied you to understand what you were afraid of losing. And what we discovered is that most Zephyrians are not evil. They are trapped in a system that rewards cruelty and punishes compassion. Change the system and you change the people." She gestured to a group of former Dominion officers working alongside human engineers on what appeared to be a new type of faster-than-light communication system. "Your people have remarkable abilities. Your technology is impressive. Your organizational skills are exceptional. We do not want to destroy these gifts. We want to redirect them toward better purposes. But you have destroyed the Dominion itself." "No, Admiral, we have transformed it. The Dominion was built on a simple idea, that might makes right, that superior force justifies oppression, that conquest is the natural order of the galaxy. We replaced that idea with a better one, that knowledge makes right, that superior understanding justifies leadership, that cooperation is the natural order of intelligence." Crexville considered this. Over the past year, he had watched human administrators turn former Dominion colonies into prosperous, self-governing worlds. He had seen enslaved species become partners in enterprises that benefited everyone involved. He had observed Zephyrian officers discover that leadership through inspiration was more effective than leadership through intimidation. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we continue the work," Chun replied. "There are still Dominion holdouts in the core systems. There are other empires in distant regions that practice similar oppression. There are countless species that have never known freedom or partnership. The galaxy is a large place, Admiral, and there is much work to be done." She turned to face him directly. "We would like your help with that work. Your knowledge of Dominion infrastructure, your understanding of military logistics, your experience with alien psychology. These would be valuable contributions to our efforts. You want me to help you destroy my own people? I want you to help us save your people. From themselves, from their fears, from a system that makes them smaller than they could be. The choice is yours, Admiral. But remember what you taught us? Strength is not measured by what you can destroy, but by what you choose to build. Krexval looked around the observation deck at the diverse crew working together with obvious respect and genuine cooperation. Humans who had been conquered were now leaders. Zephyrians who had been conquerors were now partners. Species that had been enemies were now allies. The ancients were right, he said finally. Humans are evolution's perfect trap, but not in the way we understood. How so? We thought the trap was that you appeared weak when you were actually strong, but that was not the real trap. The real trap was that you appeared to be victims when you were actually teachers. You taught us that our strength was an illusion, that our empire was a prison, and that our greatest victory would come from learning to lose with grace. Admiral Chun smiled. Class dismissed, Admiral. But graduation is just the beginning. Outside the windows, ships from 100 worlds moved in formation toward their next destination. They carried no weapons of conquest, no tools of oppression, no instruments of fear. Instead, they carried teachers and healers, engineers and artists, philosophers and dreamers. They carried hope. The Zephyrian Dominion had ruled with pride for 8 centuries. It had fallen with fire in less than a decade. But from its ashes had risen something the galaxy had never seen before, an alliance built not on power, but on possibility, and leading that alliance were the humans, evolution's perfect trap, who had turned every defeat into a lesson and every conquest into a classroom. They had learned that the greatest victory was not to rule the galaxy, but to set it free. The trap had been sprung not on humanity's enemies, but on tyranny itself, and tyranny, like all students of human ingenuity, discovered that the lesson was permanent.